Hello, everyone, and welcome to Bravo Tea with a Stay-at-Home Mom. I'm Erica, and I'm ready to talk all things Bravo. Welcome back, everybody, and on this episode, we are going to be talking about the sad possible end to seeing some of these ladies as we know it on The Real Housewives of New Jersey. So we did not get a traditional reunion. It opens up actually with Andy saying on his podcast, like, we're not going to do the reunion. We're canceling it. You'll see why, blah, blah, blah. Then like flashing like news articles kind of make it a little dramatic. Then we have all the ladies arriving at the scene of the crime at none other than Rail's Steakhouse. And they're all getting mic'd up. And I didn't know they were all going to actually be there the same time and just in different rooms. I thought maybe they were going to have one group there for like 2 hours and then the other group come and be there for 2 hours. And poor Dolo was going to have to go back and forth. So we have Danielle, Rachel, Jenn Fesslar, Margaret, and Melissa in one room. And then in the other room where the fight actually took place and where they all had dinner or lunch the previous week is Jackie Judas Goldschneider, Teresa, Jennifer Aydin, and Dolores. Dolores did go into the other room at some point, which I will talk about, but I really thought that's why they were going to do it at 2 different times, because I thought she was going to be like Switzerland Dolores and actually attend both full time with both groups. She didn't. She really was at the Teresa, Jackie Judas Goldschneider, and Jennifer Aydin, which is obviously such a smaller group because they're the problem of the show, just to be honest. I really thought that she is starting to see the light and see that, so that they were going to have her at fully both of them to hear what all these ladies have to say, because we know they all watch this together in the comfort of their own home and call each other and talk about it. But I will say it was fascinating to do this. Maybe not in place of the reunion. I would have liked to still have the reunion, to be honest. Even though we wouldn't have got resolution, I wanted Andy to look at some of these people dead in the face, ask them questions, and have nowhere to escape to. But it was pretty interesting to see them watch an episode and talk about it in like real time, watching it just like we just did. So they did all this July 15th. So they haven't filmed that scene since it was the fall. Like Danielle was cutting out pumpkins with her kids, so I'm assuming Halloween had not even happened yet. So that could have been like middle of October, beginning of October that they had that lunch. And now we're all the way to July 15th and they're sitting down and watching it. That's a long ass time. But everyone arrives. Danielle looks like she's going to perform on stage with Lady Gaga. I still love me some Danielle, but the look was a little too intense for the middle of the day. Margaret asked Danielle if she's talked to Teresa, and Danielle said that back when they were all nominated for the People's Choice Award for like, I guess like best reality show or something, she had posted a picture of the cast, Teresa did, and scribbled out everyone's face except herself, Dolores, and Jennifer Aydin. So she's scribbling out Danielle's face. And her and Danielle, all the meanwhile, were still chatting. And they were actually supposed to go to dinner together. So Danielle's like, I just told her, I need to step back from you. And that was it. And then they obviously panned to the other room. And I don't remember if it was Jennifer Aydin or Jackie that was like, oh, have you like seen and talked to Danielle? And she's like, no. And you know what? She just posted something and talked to a magazine and said she needed a break from me. And I never talked to her again. So whatever. It's like, I didn't do anything. Nothing happened. Maybe you have amnesia and you forget that you posted that picture and scribbled her face out. Like whatever at this point, if she wanted to scribble out Melissa, Rachel, and Margaret, because we knew she was not coming back from that. But the fact that she scribbled out Danielle's face, is that solely because of the beef her and Jennifer Aydin were having through the season? Because Teresa really didn't have any beef with Danielle, except when during the last like lunch thingy at Rails, I need to call it lunch because it wasn't dinner. It wasn't a sit down dinner or whatever. It was definitely a dinner. We'll call it a dinner. when Danielle was all upset about the negative comments that Jennifer Aydin was making about her husband, and then he needed like a bra because he had man titties, Teresa comes out and she's like, well, Margaret talked about Louis. And Danielle was like, shut up, Teresa. This isn't about you right now. And it's like, yeah, it's not. And then like she got pissed about that because when they watch that later, like the scene, Teresa's like, yeah, look, sorry. I guess it always has to be about you. It's like, actually, in that moment, it was about Danielle, not you. So yeah, it had to be about her for 2 minutes. Is that okay with you, Goofy? Oh, and may I just say, watching the episode back and then having Teresa sit there and she looks healthier and less stressed and more normal now. She looked rough on that last episode. Like so skinny, like her neck was like we were seeing like I feel like her bones. It was like, oh, it was actually really sad to look back at because that's like what Louis is doing to her. This poor woman will just die of pure stress that husbands have brought onto her. Like the first husband sending you to jail. The second husband is saying your daughters need to wear thongs and short skirts. Like, I can't. I don't know where she finds these people, honestly. Louis actually tracked her down and found her because it's like not a coincidence. I'm sure they met on that street corner and he lied to her when they met, said, oh, I've never watched the show before. And then a year later, he's like, oh, I love the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And it's like, yeah, duh, we know that you watched the show and that's why you like hunted her down. Like he was probably like casing the house she was staying at the Jersey Shore and happened to go on a stroll or jog the same time she did. And he's like, oh, how funny. We're at the same corner at the same time, having a walk at the same time. It's like, no. I don't think so. But then Jenn Fesslar joins the ladies and they're going to start watching the episode. So she walks by Danielle and Rachel and it's kind of like, hi. And then she says hi to Margaret and Melissa and gives them a kiss. And then she sits down and Danielle immediately can't even have the woman sit down and get like her iced tea or coffee. She's like, do you regret sticking up for Jennifer Aydin this season? I want to know. And Jenn Fesslar's like, listen, you're coming in hot. I don't need to stay in a room with snakes. I could go in the room with the other snakes and they'll be nicer. I was like, okay. Because I keep forgetting that Jenn Fesslar and Jackie do that podcast together, the two Jersey Jays or whatever. And I'm wondering how much longer that's going to last because now that she has seen the episode, because she left for the lunch, we all have to remember. So I'm sure literally later that day, she got a call from Margaret, Melissa, whoever else. And, told her about the whole info. I'd love to hear what Jackie said to her on her side. But it has to be a little awkward because Jenn Fesslar and Margaret are really close. And Jackie, in my opinion, totally was just letting Margaret have the whole brunt of the Louis with his ex and the Teresa thing. Because Teresa was just dead set it was all Margaret doing all this shit. And then at the end, that was the bombshell that we found out that was actually Jackie. And I do believe Jackie leaked the video. No, we do not have proof. But I believe it because why would Margaret do that? Like, it's Margaret wasn't getting along with Teresa, but she didn't have like a big vendetta to like get her back on revenge like the motive Jackie did because Teresa ruined like her husband's reputation and made her relapse on her eating disorder. So yeah, pretty sure she's the one that would want to get you back with that video, not Margaret. And I do believe like Margaret wouldn't even like know how to do that. Like maybe she would send it to somebody and they would know, but I could see Jackie being tricky. She's a lawyer, as Margaret said. She's doing anything and hiding it. So then Rachel's just like, oh, yeah, I guess we're not going to be friends anymore, basically. And Jenn Fesslar's like, look, I don't know what happened, but we need to just stop this. And I love you. And she's like, I love you too. And then they hug it out. And see, that is conflict and resolution, which we're not going to get with some of the ladies. But I never had a fear that Rachel and Jenn Fesslar wouldn't be able to get back from their little tiff they were having. Like Rachel said, she obviously had watched the whole season at that point. So she's like, I don't think anything you were saying to Teresa was bad, but when you did sit with her that night and like hugged her and whatnot, like that bothered me. And Jenn Fesslar's like, yeah, I don't really regret saying or doing anything because then I wouldn't be authentic. And this is reality TV. And I like that they pointed that out. Like that room, whether they're being mean or not being perfect, that's their authentic self. So we could not agree with them or we could get bothered by them. But then if they're like just putting on a performance, I don't even want to see that. I want to see reality, what you really would do, what you really would say, whether we agree or like it or not. I want to know what you would really say to these people in a room. But then they start watching the episode. They obviously left out some, like, we didn't sit with them the whole hour and they watched the whole hour episode. They left out some goofy parts. But we watched the scene between Margaret and Dolores. And it's just like getting weird. Like every time I watch that scene over again. And by the way, watching the uncensored version on Peacock is a must if everyone can, because hearing Dolores say all the nasty words like the see you next Tuesday and the F word full out, it's so scary. It gives me like Sopranos vibes. I'm like, oh, she's so heated and scary. Dolo, Patterson, Dolores was coming out. But I honestly feel like Dolores got so heated because maybe she is a little nervous that Teresa would think Dolores was invited to that and would contemplate going. And they've been friends for so long. She doesn't want Teresa to ever I feel like hate her. Like, I'm not saying Dolores doesn't like Teresa, but I feel like she does not agree with a lot of the things she has said or done, and certainly not Louis. But she doesn't want to really say it because she doesn't feel like getting on their bad side, because I think she has seen the wrath of their bad side. She's like, I ain't got time for this bitch. So I think that's why she was getting so upset with Margaret. And really, my opinion, what I think is Margaret in person or on the phone verbally told her oh yeah, we're just, Melissa and Jackie and Rachel are going to come over. We're just going to order sushi and have some drinks, cocktails, just talk about what we're all going to be doing and wearing tomorrow. And if you want to come, but if not, I understand. Totally. I don't think she addressed the invitation as excuse me, we're all going to sit here for a minimum of 2 hours and plan out the demise and takedown of Louis and have a board like the FBI do when they have to hunt down murderers and stuff and crime scenes with the red yarn with the pins in the board. I do not think that's what they were doing. I truly think it was just well, we already know that Teresa and Louis hate us. So do you guys just want to come over and we'll chit chat about what we think is going to happen tomorrow? Or John Fuda said he had a whole envelope of BS on Louis. It's oh yeah, let's see what's in that envelope and before you open it up tomorrow. But it's I don't think it was a takedown, because as Margaret said to Teresa at the finale, Louis does a good enough job of embarrassing himself, so nobody has to sit and have a plan on how to embarrass or take down Louis, because he's just does it all on his own, honestly, which I agree with that. But so they watch the scene of Dolores getting so heated, and then she's like, I want to go down because I want to give Margaret a hug, because the dog that was in the scene is no longer with us, little Bella, the Yorkie. So she's like, I know that's hard for Margaret watching that, and I want to go give her a hug about that, but I just feel so embarrassed watching that, how I reacted. And she held the napkin over her mouth and just the eyes were out. She was like, oh, I can't believe I said and did that. So she went down, hugged it out, and Dolores came in the room, and then Melissa's like, oh my God, I can't believe you called her that. And then Dolores is like, yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I just got so heated because you did not invite me. Dolores is really sticking by it. I think it's an agree to disagree. Maybe she said something to her. But even if Margaret invited her, Dolores doesn't have to worry about it making her look bad, because she didn't go. And just because you're invited to something, you can say no, and then your friend can't get mad because the friend said no. I'd be like, okay, that's nice that you didn't go, if I'm thinking it's a takedown of my man. But Teresa then asked the producer, which I thought this was so weird. So, you could tell her blood boils when she watches all these people, which is also why I feel like she needs to be fired from the show, because she just gets so irritated that she has to do anything involving this show, honestly, anymore, because she hates everybody on it except Dolores and Jennifer Aydin, because let's all be real, in the back of her brain, she does not like Jackie. She will fake liking Jackie just so it proves a point almost to Margaret, because she's very stubborn, I feel. But She doesn't like Jackie. I think that's pure BS. She probably just likes that like Jackie like sucks up to her, honestly. But once she said all that at the table at the lunch and was like, yeah, I met with her. And she was like, what? You could tell she was like, oh, nope, you're off the list, dead, gone. And they never liked each other anyway. So they're a little like rekindling, like, oh, we're using her, point blank. Teresa said, we're using her to get back at Margaret and get info. I think she thought Jackie was going to come to her house one day and be like, look, I have all these emails and screenshots of text messages of years with Margaret saying this, this, and this. And here, this is going to be all your proof and bad, like, gossip that you need. But that never happened. But so Teresa asked if she could have an espresso martini. And the producer said, no, because it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Who gives a shit? I'm sorry. Have we ever cared literally what time of day it is to give these ladies alcohol? I mean, and she's a responsible adult and just wanted a drink. I'd be like, I don't even know why I'm asking your permission. I will just go outside and get one and have them bring it to me. Like, they're watching a heated episode, and this could be considered a brunch. I'm not judging. I thought they were all actually going to have cocktails because guess what? When they met for the prior week, when they got all rowdy, they had lots of cocktails there. Dolores even finished someone's Cosmo when they all had left. She's like, this drink is like half full. I'm not going to waste it. So now it's like, oh, no, you're not allowed to have any. It's 1:30 in the afternoon. That's when I thought it was weird, too, that the producer was almost like judging Teresa, like, oh, no, if this was 5 o'clock, I'd give you one. Like, oh, official time of start drinking alcohol is 5 p.m., I suppose. Like, 1:30, how dare you ask? I'd be like, all right, get out of here, bye. But then they all watch the scene. So Dolores comes back into the room with Teresa, Jackie, and Jennifer Aydin, and they all watch the scene where Louis wishes harm on Margaret's son and that he suffers. That was disgusting. And watching Margaret watch it and probably just hate them even more, I really feel like in her brain she was like,
Rotten Hill.
I mean, that is a no. You do not say that. Immediately Dolores was like, oh, Teresa, he's not going to come back from that. I don't like that. And then Teresa is like on a different planet, I feel like, because watching it back, wouldn't you be like, yeah, you know, he was upset, but yeah, he shouldn't have said that. We don't bring up the kids, because whenever it pertains to Teresa's kids, we can't bring up the kids. But I guess it's okay that your husband stood there on camera, by the way. This is not in private. This is on camera. So I don't even want to know what this man says in private without the cameras. Probably far worse. And she's like, oh, well, you know, our kids suffered, so who cares? She literally was like, who cares? And then Dolores is like, no, you don't say that. And then she's like, oh, Dolores, don't even begin to stick up for Margaret in my presence because I'm going to get really mad. And then she went, you do not bring up the kids. And I've stood by a lot of things that Louis has done, but I cannot get behind that. And she's like, even when it involved my own child. And then thank God, first of all, thank God she said all that shit. Thank you, Dolores. And then thank God they showed the flashback to when Frankie, little Frankie, worked for creepy Louis. And it was just like, the job, like the place just like shut down, and he went to work one day and nothing was there. And then Frank is sitting on the other side. He's like, oh, I'm not going to bring it up. And then Dolores is like, I don't even want to talk about this because I don't want to talk about Frankie, which like, I get it. Like Frankie's not, like he doesn't refuse to be on camera, but he's like not a cast member and he doesn't want to be involved probably. So he's like, no. Like embarrassing enough for him. So he's like, maybe like, don't even talk about it because when I'm trying to get another job, I don't even want people to know I was like associated with Louis. But I mean, yeah, like Teresa just doesn't care about other people's kids. It's just her kids. So when you say, oh, going against family is terrible, well, and then you don't talk to your whole entire family. And then, oh, you don't bring up people's kids because that's horrible. Your husband on camera literally said, I hope Margaret's son suffers. Okay, if your kid suffered because of Louis's exes that are trying to get restraining orders on him. I don't really think that's Margaret's fault. I think it's Louis's fault. And then when they show also like Melissa saying that all the people have like come out of the woodwork and tried to like contact them, like all the exes. And then she's like, one of Louis's nieces literally came up to me at the Jersey Shore and said, you should be very afraid. And Teresa went, oh, that's nice. I guess I'll tell Louis Jr. that his cousin said that about his father. Yeah, I highly doubt that cousin, whoever it is, even talks to Louis Jr. Sorry. And his sons seem like lovely people. And bravo for that, even if the dad is Looney Tune and ripping off people probably. At least his sons look like they're well put together. The one is special needs, but he seems like he's very happy when he's with them, so that's good. And I mean, the older son always seems like fine when he's on camera. I mean, he's on camera for like a minute, but I'm sure that cousin doesn't want to talk to them because he's so weird. It's just like, I really am sad for all the girls and Antonia and like Gino and Joey, because at the end of the day, nothing happened with them. But when shit gets so intense with your parents versus like the family member, you want to side with your parents. Like, you think Antonia is going to call Melania, even though at the end of the day, it has nothing to do with Melania, when Teresa's calling her mother a whore? Like, that's Melania's mom. So like, why would Antonia ever feel comfortable to be like, hey, Melania, do you want to go to lunch? Like, make sure your mom isn't there calling my mom like a whore, but we can go to lunch. Like, it just eventually sadly affects the kids. And that's what I feel sad for, because they don't have each other now. And they were all so close in age. And I feel like the girls do see Joe Judas's nieces. So his brothers, I remember they had all girls on that side. There was like 10 girls, like total, or 12. It was like wild. Like, no one had a son. Like, okay, so it's not just Teresa. It's like everyone in Joe Judas's family couldn't produce boys. That was like pretty crazy. But it is like, it's just really sad that Teresa can't even admit that Louis shouldn't have said that. We're not saying like throw Louis under the bus on camera, but looking back on it, you can't say, yeah, he was just really upset because of everything that happened with our kids, but he shouldn't have said that. That's when the other side would start to like Teresa again. Like, she thinks she has to like burn Louis at the stake, and that is not the case at all. Like, I love my husband, but if he's going to say something like that on TV, I'm going to like later when we watch it in person and the whole world has already seen it, I'm going to say, yeah, he was really upset, but he shouldn't have said that. I agree. Moving on. Like, but I'm hoping Dolores is really starting to see the light by this. And I think like people just don't fall out of the sky and try to get restraining orders on a guy, like everybody. So it's not just like one crazy person. It's like everyone he's ever been with said he's like awful. And now the little niece is coming up and finding Melissa. But Margaret said it was so funny because then they start watching the end scene where they're all arriving at lunch. And Margaret went, oh, I can't believe Jackie's outfit she's wearing that. It's so cheap. It's disgusting. And then when Teresa walked in, which is when she looked like so thin, it was so sad. She went, and then the other one in her fake Chanel. We'll just call it out. Which, I'm sorry, it has to be. It does. With the clothes, I mean, this isn't Beverly Hills. Like, I think everything they wear on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is real. So that's when I see just like the silliest things. Like if they have like Chanel socks on, I'm like, holy shit, they really went to Chanel and brought freaking Chanel socks. Now, when I see like outfits like that on like Teresa or kind of like anyone on the Real Housewives of New Jersey, like Jennifer Aydin included, I think it's fake. I'm just going to be real. Maybe not the purses, but I think like all the clothes and like even like the jewelry, like the big Chanel pearl necklace, like that's probably not real. And that's totally fine. I mean, no one's judging, but no. And you know what? She better cool it because they did a whole nother interview. I don't know if people saw. So we didn't get like really an after show this year for Jersey, which I was kind of mad about. But they did like film some like after show-esque type related things. And they asked the women how much they spent on things, low or high. And I love Rachel and Danielle's answers for stuff because they were like, low. Like Danielle was like, my nails low. I go around the corner, just get a gel manicure set or something, like acrylic set. And then everyone said hi for jeans, which I have to agree also. You just need a couple pairs of jeans. You got to spend the money, and you can wear it with cheap tops if you want. But you got to have the expensive jeans because they just last the longest and fit the best. But everything they asked, Teresa said hi for everything. And I'm like, girl, that's how you got in trouble the last time with the IRS. But she just better watch it. I don't know. I get a weird feeling that the same thing is going to happen to her and Louis, which is going to be so sad. Because when Rachel said to her at that lunch, I don't think she was being a smartass. She was being point blank honest, just like what happened in her first marriage. She's like, do you think your husband is forthcoming with everything that he does or says? Do you even know? And she gets so offended because it's like, yeah, your first husband wasn't forthcoming. That's why you went to jail. Like, I don't think Teresa knows everything, but I also don't think Teresa asks lots of questions. But she kind of buries her head in the sand, honestly, and I think she's doing it with Louis. Like, I definitely think something bad is just going to happen, honestly, because a lot of his business stuff is very shady and not adding up. And that house, I can't even breathe how much that house must cost to run. And she has the 4 daughters, and he has 2 sons, and one is special needs, which we know is a very high expense. And the cars they have, the vacations they go on, all the clothes they wear, whether they're real or not, they still cost money. It's just like a lot of freaking expenses happening in that house. And the IRS might be perking up their ears and tuning back into her. That's all I'm saying. But when Jennifer Aydin is talking to Danielle and they say the whole thing, like, again, it's just so sad. Like, Jennifer Aydin really thinks everyone is jealous of her on the show. And then when she was like, yeah, you want my life, Danielle. And then Melissa said when they're watching it, she said, nobody wants your life, you whack job. Like, true. I mean, I think Bill, when they go out, he seems fun and he does seem like a great father and he seems like a nice husband now. The early episodes, like, I feel like he was very old fashioned, like, oh, you can't leave the children for more than 2 hours a day. What are you doing? You're the one that stays home. Now he's like in tune with reality. Like, okay, you can leave and do stuff too. But it is just so weird to me. She thinks everyone like wants her house and wants her life. Like, your husband did cheat on you with a drug rep that came to his work. So let's not forget that. And as Margaret says, you have the biggest house in Paramus, so I guess you built a mansion in like a cheap-ish area. I don't know. So I don't know why she's like acting like everyone has scraps and she's the only king of the castle. Like, I think Danielle's house is cute. And you know what? I'd rather have the house filled with love than, like Danielle said, your empty like 16 bathrooms you have. Like, who even needs 16 toilets, honestly? I don't care if you don't clean them or not. Who needs 16 toilets? But it's just so funny. Well, like, Danielle is just like laughing that she's saying that. But when they get into the fight, Danielle does have remorse. Jennifer is laughing at the scene. And she's still making fun of like Nate and what she said, has no remorse about that. And I just can't get over her making fun of it because I heard the last guest I had on to recap the Real Housewives of New Jersey gave me the little tea. The Bravo babe, Christina, she said that Bill Aydin actually had the same surgery done that Nate did, and he performs the operations. But the most ironic part is he had the same operation. So let's say Danielle said that about Bill, it would be the end of the world, and Teresa would think she's a piece of shit probably, and it's just terrible. But it's okay that Danielle confided and told Jennifer and probably Bill, who knows, maybe Bill did it. I don't think so. But probably told them because they were close and friendly, like, yeah, Nate had that operation and now you're throwing it in their face because at the end of the day, you're making fun of him and he's not even there. So also not fair and not nice. But it's just really ironic that Bill had the same operation. So don't throw stones at a glass house, especially with 16 toilets. But just them watching these scenes and talking shit about each other is like really hilarious. And Teresa, when they get to the part where she's calling Melissa like the whore, she's like, F you, F you. And they have their little funny pose stare off, which I'm still laughing about. When Melissa was like, she learned from the best, white trash. And I don't know if she's calling her white trash because of like how she acts or like she went to jail. But also what I was thinking is I think this is Melissa's time to get her back for when Judas and Teresa, because all the old episodes have been on, which I love. I've just been watching them, crying that we're never going to get those old type of episodes back in our life ever. But she would make fun of Melissa from being from the Jersey Shore, and then so would Judas. And he would be like, oh, her whole family is like trash from the shore, white trash. So maybe Melissa's like, this is my time to call you white trash now. So just like called her the white trash. And then Teresa said, well, I guess she's calling my brother white trash too, if I'm white trash. And I'm like, no, not necessarily, because you could just grow up to be white trash. Like you don't have to be born and be white trash. Like you can just become it. I just honestly think she was getting her back for all the comments that they made, because, okay, so she's automatically white trash because she was born in Tom's River. Like, okay, now bye. Joe and Teresa and Dolores grew up in Patterson, which they like act like that's like very like a rough area there. So, all right, we all grew up in different areas. But I just can't believe the whole thing that Jackie is sitting next to Teresa and they're watching this together. That's why I would have loved for Dolores to be in the other room. They should have put Dolores in the other room. Oh, no, I take it back. Not the other room. She should have watched the fight with Jackie, Teresa, and Jennifer Aydin, then went to the other room and watched it again. Like, that's the part that I really wanted to hear Dolores talk with all the other ladies about. Like, I feel like Dolores wasn't really saying anything with Teresa, Jennifer, Aydin, and Jackie during the whole fight part, because Jackie was in there too. And Dolores doesn't even like Jackie. So that's just null and void for her. But I just can't even believe that Teresa, rewatching this, hearing that Jackie did this, and then seeing all the commentary from everyone, and is still like, oh yeah, let's sit next to each other. Let's be friends. Totally stupid. And they all basically say it's over, and that all the people in their room is the people they're happy they are with. So that's why I can't believe that Teresa's like, oh, Jackie, I'm happy you're here. No. And then Melissa said to Margaret, you know, Jackie's up with Teresa, like, oh, I love you. Like, don't be mad that I said that. Like, it was just really Margaret. Like, we're good, right? We're good. That's what she said. And it's funny. Like, I feel like Jackie did say that. I can't specifically remember, but she did like grab Teresa's arm, like, oh, we're still friends, right? Don't be mad at me. Social climber. Like, it's just funny because the old picture was circulating of Jackie stalking Teresa back in the day at her book signing. And she brought her two sons, and they were like held up in the picture with Teresa. That's like so weird. You don't bring your kids to that shit. I'm sorry, you don't. Because you have to wait in line for a long time. It's just like, no, not a place children want to be. But I just think it's so funny that Jackie was like a super Teresa fan. And then the second she came on the show, she like immediately started shit with her. So I'm like, this is weird. Like, if you were a super fan and wanted to be her friend, like I kind of feel like Jennifer Aydin came on as, why didn't you just be her friend right away? Like, why'd you even waste time with being Melissa's friend? All the stuff she ever said about Teresa is negative. So I can't even believe that Teresa sits there and is like, oh yeah, I like Jackie. That's why they said that at the finale episode. And Melissa went, oh, we're not over the sprinkle cookies, but that's okay. Because Teresa will hold the longest grudge. Like, if you tripped her in middle school, she probably still doesn't like you and is like still talking about it. And this whole Jackie thing is very defamatory, inviting the ex. Like, what are you doing inviting the ex to your house? So, like, what? I mean, I get it because Teresa talked about Evan, but why are you doing that if you ever want to then genuinely be friends with that person? To me, if I was Teresa, Jackie would be dead to me. Even if I talked about Evan, I don't really give a shit. If you had my husband's ex who now has us in court at your house. Bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. I have enough friends. Like, if Teresa thinks she has enough friends, why would you even need to do that with Jackie? It's just crazy. But it's just really sad and weird because I don't know what's going to happen. And that's what they all start kind of talking about. Melissa's like, this has been my life for 14 years. And it's really sad, but in a weird way, I'm happier and relieved now that I know, like, we're done with Joe's family. Like, it's done. And Jackie said that to Teresa. She said, I know that there's no chance of you reconciling with Melissa, but would you ever reconcile with Margaret? Now, I think that's like weird because if you're going to reconcile with someone, I'm not saying she's going to reconcile with either of them. I would give a no to both and throw Rachel in for a win at 3. But wouldn't you and shouldn't you reconcile with your brother's wife instead of this woman you met on a TV show like 5 years ago? Like, I can't even believe Jackie's like, oh, there's never, ever a chance with Melissa. But what about Margaret? It's like, no. Like, I feel like Teresa hates Margaret even more, even though she really does hate Melissa. Margaret more because she has no connection with Margaret, at least at the end of the day. You are family with Melissa, whether you want to admit it or not. But she said no, that Margaret would have to get on her hands and knees and beg her for her forgiveness. So I hope Teresa isn't holding her breath for that because that ain't never happening ever. Because Margaret doesn't even want to be friends with her. So that's really weird. It's like I think Teresa thinks all these people are screwed because they're not bowing down to the OG housewife of the Real Housewives of New Jersey. And I actually think the opposite. I think Teresa's screwed because of Louis. I think Louis coming on this show truly brought it to a different level of dark, because we could say it's always been a little dark because, like, the christening, they're fighting. But honestly, families fight, and Italian families are definitely going to fight like that. And then they're going to, like, make up weeks later. So that's not even surprising to me. But once Louis came on and it got, like, legal and the Bo Dietl shit, and, like, Frank's like, you hired people to, like, do this and say this, and the social media got real nasty right away. Yeah, I think it's from Louis, because social media has existed for a really long time. And it was always just petty, silly stuff. It wasn't as deep and dark and awful as it is. And I think Louis has blown it for Teresa. And truly, because of the legalities and all the stuff, I think that Bravo should get rid of Teresa because of Louis. And they should just tell her that. They should say, he's really become a liability, and the show is getting too dark and it's going down a legal path, and that's too much. And Jennifer Aydin might as well just go along with Teresa because nobody like her, and she doesn't like anybody. She's on social media right now. She's like, oh, if I get fired, I'll just go back to counting my Ferraris and all my toilets. It's like, all right, then go. Bye-bye. Like, ain't missing you that much. I think Jen could have been more fun if she didn't always get so, like, I got to put it on and defend Teresa to the core, but then also stir up so much dramatic drama. Like, she was a little try hard for me. And I wouldn't miss it if Teresa and Jennifer exited, which means, thank God, we would never see Jackie Judas Goldschneider anyway. Even if they kept the entire same cast, I don't think we'd ever see Jackie again after this season anyway, because nobody's picking up the phone and calling her, inviting her to shit, honestly. But none of these women will film together, except for majority of the cast. So it's basically just, like I said, Teresa and Jennifer Aydin. So that seems to me make it really easy. Just get rid of the two of them and maybe put 2 new housewives in there. Let's get some Dolo friends, some Melissa friends, let's get some Rachel Fuda friends. We tried with Danielle and her 2 friends, but poor things didn't get a word in because there was enough drama happening anyway. So maybe let's just put her friends in if they were interesting enough. The only positive information, which was shocking that we got at the end, is that Rachel Fuda revealed that she's pregnant. So that's really exciting. And then after the show aired, they posted their little reveal. They did it on the beach. So the two young girls are holding a little onesie that says coming soon. And then Jaden's in the pictures with Rachel and John. So they're going to have a lot of mouths to feed in that house. He better be selling that tile. That's all I know. But I'm happy for them. Can't wait to see if it's going to be a boy or girl. And that's what I mean. I don't want to see them go on the show. I really like Danielle and I really like Rachel because they're young families. And that's what Jersey used to be about, having the kids, seeing them navigate. And I like it because that's me right now. Even though I still like to see my OGs, I like to see the youth as well because that's where I am in my life with the kids. But I don't know when we're even going to get answers as to when they're going to start filming, who's going to start filming. I feel like it just ended, so they're really, really going to make us sit and wonder about this shit for a long time, in my opinion. But don't keep us waiting too long, Andy, because I truly need to know where we're going to go from here. As always, this was so fun, and you could find me on Instagram at Bravo T with the Stay at Home Mom, Spotify and Apple. Till next time, see ya.